Morning show, K101. Let's take a check-in with our friends at High Plains Technology
Is it time?
Center. It's time.
Tech Bites, what's on the menu, Mr. Holt? The superintendent himself graced us this morning.
Ooh, I know.
Mr. Holt's here this morning.
I dressed up especially for that.
We rolled out the red carpet.
Oh, hey, Barclay, good morning to you. All kidding aside, thank you so much for taking time and sharing with our folks, K101 folks, however you want to put it, the exciting and great things, ever-changing things that are happening in High Plains Technology Center.
It's all of our folks, right, CJ? That's how it goes, I think. Yeah, no, glad to be here. It's lots going on in High Plains, and I mean, lots going on, in school business. If the world's going to end, it seems like it's going to happen in the spring of the year, and especially February and March. And so, anyway, everybody's busy and it's running.
On behalf of all those, particularly the young people who benefited from it, but the District Livestock Show, and don't want to beat a horse to death necessarily, but I haven't had the opportunity to at least publicly thank you and the Tech Center, big-time players in that. Any number of things you do. One that comes to mind is the Construction Trades Program. Pay Carlson, they build those benches, and they actually build them, and that's a cool part right on site. They build them the pig show day.
Yeah, and it's, we got involved when Dwight hired me, I guess in 2011 or whatever, and I came over. Just was something I always had thought that we needed to be involved in that. Those are the kids that, I mean, if you're just breathing, those are the kids that we want to get involved in our programs, the kids we want to involved, the kids we want coming back to Northwest Oklahoma, remaining here, I guess would be a better way to say that. But it just made sense for us to be there, and it's a good exposure for our programs, and that's how that bench deal started. Some people forget that, but it really started off as just a way our health careers would go out, our construction, different programs, just showcasing what we do so people could see that, and then kind of necessity, mother of invention, I guess, the bench thing was something they could do.
There's a dozen of them or so,
and just started doing those, and now it's a deal. And I mean, if you talk to kids, that it's something they shoot for, to get a bench, and so
it's what the grands
all get a bench. So
the different species, cattle, sheep, goats, and then what I always appreciate so much is that they build an extra one, if you will, leave it blank, don't put a plate on it.
Yeah,
that is the first auction item, if you will, the premium auction, and that benefits the scholarship fund. All the money goes directly to the scholarship fund, so those folks can continually to increase the amount of scholarship money. Record amount last Tuesday in terms of the number of dollars, $18,000, and so all that benefits the scholarship. And our thanks to our friends over in Shattuck, Newman Memorial Hospital, Mr. Vasco. Tom, is that right?
Yeah.
Was actually the successful bidder on the, and we'll put a Newman Memorial plate on that and get that over to him, and thank for him for participating with us as well. So,
it's really cool to see just all the players that get involved in that district stock show, and even talking about like the evolution of what we've done. I mean, later on, they came back, and Josh and John Mark, I think they were the ones cooking the potatoes and cleaning them, and they got tired of it, and our crew out there, Pam Klein and that crew, helps with doing the potatoes and getting the corn ready for that, and then things that have happened within programs, the ice cream deal that Jamie and his crew does for and serve it one day. It's just it's just a place for us to be that we need to be, and it's the people that make that happen. The people of Woodward County made the event center happen, and I mean, there's not a better. I mean, me and the kids have been all over the country showing, and there's not a better facility than that deal, and it's something that Woodward is known for. There's no doubt about it.
When the judges for the various species come in, the hog judge or the sheep judge or goat or cattle, even cattle, and sometimes they come from a long ways away, quite honestly, Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, whatever, and they are blown away that facility sits in Woodward, Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's
so well
it's
managed.
just amazing. It doesn't matter what time of year that facility is second to none.
Anyway, and the Tech Center also provided the decorations for the tables. They're fed. I'm told now the numbers are probably exceeding 900 people. But the plates.
Well, I think according to potatoes, it was north of 800 is what I heard. So that it was a huge crowd.
Our K101 staff kind of helped serve, and they said they ran out of potatoes.
Did an amazing job serving the corn. The two guys to my left, they are all over the corn deal. Yeah.
Somebody recognizes their talents. Thank you.
Yeah.
All over the corn, maybe a misnomer. I think there was more on the floor than there was.
No,
Well, we were slinging it.
they're slinging the corn. Yeah.
Anyway, and then obviously the ag mechanic. We need to get more specific on the Tech Center here, but the TAP active in the ag mechanics. I mean, ag mechanics has grown to be such a integral part, huge part of that show. Quite honestly, it's outgrown itself.
Yeah, I know that ag mechanics deal, and I mean, what a great fit for kids that maybe don't want to have an animal, or maybe do have an animal and do that as well. But I mean, again, I mean, it's amazing to me all the time. Like within education, doesn't matter what you're talking about, things that make sense still make sense. And I talk about, you talked about TAP. I mean, it's a simple concept that works, and we're going to get into upcoming events, and the governor making his way up here maybe in April, it looks like, and yesterday, I mean, they want to see what's going on at High Plains, and I actually had a group in Monday from the metro Oklahoma City area and Tech Center, and talking about, and they asked, what's the thing that you feel maybe the most proud of, or what you're the most excited about at High Plains. And I said, I really believe it is the matriculation of bringing those kids from 6th grade all the way through to post-secondary to a career, or to post-secondary training, adult training, and then on to a career is what I'm most proud of. And we've done that. And it has become a model. My team out there, all 69 people, including the Beaver County crew now, from the time they start in as 6th, 7th, 8th graders all the way through, we're not just focusing on coming in as a junior and senior with the myth that we can get them trained. We're working on it from junior high on up, and it's a big deal.
And you mentioned we want to talk about those events coming up, but before we leave the stock show, and you mentioned Beaver County, sometimes I've been known to embellish things or kind of stretch the truth, particularly when it comes to Oklahoma State and that kind of stuff. I
noticed that.
I will kind of stretch the truth. This, for the most part, is verbatim, and an honest story. It was prior to the auction. It was getting kind of things ready, probably about 6:30 or so, a little before 6:30. A fellow comes up and to me and well, thank you all and yada yada for this event. He says, and he was from Beaver County, and he says, we have High Plains technology in Beaver County now. And I said, yeah, I'm aware of that. And almost verbatim, he said, that's the best thing that's happened to Beaver County in years. And I'm not making that up. That's actually true, out of the blue. It wasn't solicited in terms of, and I know that maybe we can spend a couple minutes obviously TAP, but you're expanding the thing in Beaver County.
Yeah, we started out there with the TAP program. We put a TAP program in each school because the semantics or the logistics in Beaver County were not something that you could bus kids, obviously, an hour and a half-ish to Woodward for that. So you had the model had to look different, and so our approach to it and what we talked about as that vote went through was putting TAP programs at each school, which means that all their kids will have the opportunity to participate in career tech, and did that. And then now this summer, that vote happened, I guess, a year ago, January. The reality is they didn't officially come on board to what would have been January 1 this year in terms of tax structure. But what we did was stood those TAP programs up in each school last July, had some help from the legislature and the governor to see that there was some funding to help with that. And then so got that stood up along with and got those 4 programs going. We have a director over those programs out there. And then this year we're in the process of standing up a diesel or a welding construction type program at Turpin, and then a health program in Beaver, and also looking at some type of a business program, a cooperative working with us in Beaver. It's a different model, but it just makes sense in utilizing existing facilities, and the people of Beaver County have been so accommodating in terms of making that happen, not only the county people, but all the way to the school level, and then just the patrons of making that work, because the reality was if we went out there with the revenue from tax, you would build one building, you might put one program in out there, and the way we were able to get on the ground, they've taken some space they had at the schools and made it available, and we just worked with them to make that go. So it's really taken hold. It gets a lot of traction from the state, and it makes sense. I mean,
and it wouldn't work if there wasn't an opportunity or a need, if you will, and needs kind of an overworked word necessarily, but there was opportunities there to make all that happen. There was a need, if you will,
absolutely,
for it to happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that people have asked, because that it was said by a lot of leadership downstate that they didn't think it ever happened, just didn't think the people of the Panhandle and Beaver County would vote for it, didn't think it would happen. And the need of it is what made it happen. I mean, it was something. I mean, one individual out there came up to me when the process of voting, and he said, something's got to happen to turn the tide. And I mean, hey, Beaver County being a microcosm of that, but that's something needs to happen. We need some stuff in western Oklahoma. It's for far too long. It's gone east I-35, and I don't think it's selfish by asking them to take care of us every once in a while. So
we need to continue our discussion. Do we need to step aside for a break here real quick? We're okay?
We're all right.
To continue, you alluded to an event coming up, and I know you're getting ready for several construction projects, kind of, if you will, and improvements and that kind of thing. But you alluded to an event that the governor was coming to. What do you got going there?
Yeah, well, there's a couple things that have happened. You talked about TAP earlier, and just the synergy around that and getting kids involved, and then that creates. We run, if we talk about saturation rate, the Tech Center in High Plains leads the state in terms of the available juniors and seniors that we get to our programs. That's caused the need for expansion, which we're in the process of working on in the final steps of adding space for our diesel and our construction and welding programs to do that. I mean, our diesel program has always been, it's a dead end shop. It doesn't have, you can't drive through it. So that's been a need there. Whether we had more students or not, to be able to drive trucks all the way through. So that's going to be part of this expansion. And then construction, welding space, Pake builds the tiny houses and stuff that when it's bad or, whatever, you can't be in there all the time. And then on the welding project for Tracy and that crew out there, needed that space. So that's what's going to provide that building, and that's more for the daytime side. But an area that we've seen that's just easy to box up is like our post-secondary programs, our adult programs like LPN, like WIND, right. CNA, CDL. Once they get that certification, they go to work. And so that's been an area of focus, and some might not understand this, but that's been the goal of me and our leadership and the 69 people out there pulling the rope, is to try to get to where we've got an opportunity for our kids in this area to not leave, to have programs. I mean, we're looking at maybe a building maintenance that would include HVAC, electrical, plumbing, those kinds of things. But I say all that to lead up to why we had something very big happen last summer. I was approached by Bobby and Brenda Alexander about a building, the dance studio that was next door to us, about donating that to the Tech Center. That happened. We closed on that on December 27th. Their donation of that building, that's right adjacent to the west of us, right there off Hanks Trail. And so on April 3rd, we will do a building dedication for the Alexander Adult Training Center that will be and the governor is supposed to be here at that event. sometime between 10 and 11. If you ever worked with the governor in scheduling, that's something to behold in itself. But as of yesterday afternoon, Saxon, who kind of runs the governor's schedule, confirmed to me that April 3rd, that morning, would happen, shooting for between 10 and 11 to do that dedication. And that facility, when we got to talking and we were there, I mean, my explanation to him about how vital that deal could be played right into where we're already headed, into a post-secondary and adult-type training facility. We've been working with legislature to try to get something stood up and headed down that road, because the reality is we can't bring instructorship. It doesn't matter if it's plumbing, electrical, whatever. We can't be married to that long term. It's not fiscally responsible. It doesn't work to have, but we don't need 20 plumbers every year, but we need to be able to produce 4 or 5 and maybe every 3 years or something like that. I won't even get into what that might look like. This facility that we envision will be very flexible. It'll be something that if we need to teach a building maintenance class for a year, we would do it,
okay,
and then we would go to something else the next year, and that space could shift very easily. The Alexanders, the donation of that property and that building will provide. We will not waste any money on the front office space type, classroom type, meeting rooms, conference room type stuff. That will be that piece, and then behind it will be a separate type, barn for lack of a better term, but a barn that can be divided into 50-foot bays or something like that. That's our goal long term. Obviously, it ties with the legislature and the governor and wanting to develop workforce. It ties right into that, and it needs to be flexible for our companies here.
And that's in addition to the new construction that you have planned there, on the north side of the building?
Yeah, it'll be on the north side. It basically matches the welding to the north. If you're familiar with our facility, kind of that northeast corner of our facility, it matches welding and construction in 2 bays that are 75 by 75, equaling 175 by 150, and then the diesel deal's another 75, 80 by 150. So that building makes about a 300 by 75 building that'll run east-west there and come up to 34th. But that's something still in the process of, getting those drawings finalized. That's a whole story unto itself, working with architects and making sure you're not messed up and before we'll ever go to bid on that project. So,
it all ties to me anyway, and we've talked about this, and I don't want to beat that horse to death, but in terms of proactive, I think is what impresses me more about that about career tech in general, more specifically High Plains here. If they're, and here again, when you use that word I don't like, a need or something, you're on top of it before it becomes critical.
We try to be. It's always the dollar limits that as to how creative you can be, but again, back to what makes sense. You were telling me that the governor's office had contacted you and wanted to come in and visit a little bit before that or something. It makes sense to them, so they want to. The things that make sense seems to still gain traction. I think that's if there is any resolve in politics, is that a lot of times there's not a whole lot that comes across the table that makes sense, and so. When you start talking to them about things that, hey, we're going to grow our own, we're going to do this. We're even talking with them about how to do a residence hall that possibly us and Northwestern could participate in, because we have companies coming in all the time. We have students coming in all the time. And, why do our kids have to drive through Woodward and I'm talking about if they're in the Panhandle or they're in the Texas Panhandle or wherever. Why do we have to leave out here? And you're in the eastern side of the state. You've got an OSU Tech. You've got those kinds of things. Why do we have to head that way than to try to get them back? I'd just rather keep them here, and they can hunt and fish in the same ponds and property they've been hunting in. It just makes sense to me.
You know, we haven't talked about it. It's a program that's relatively new, I guess, and a successful one. Your CDL, commercial drivers, that is just phenomenal.
Very proud of that. Very proud of what Jamie and Jesse and those guys have done in diesel to develop, bringing students through. That, you know, this summer there'll be 17 graduating seniors that are enrolled in 2 classes. We had to do 2 CDL classes this summer, so that those young people can go through CDL immediately after graduation, and they're going to leave with a job. And we support that. I mean, the board at High Plains, very supportive of those programs, and those students will leave with that certification, and they can go drive a truck the next day.
And you do say you have a job, but a darn good job. That's very highly paid.
Yeah, I mean, they'll never. I mean, it's. I've always said with having your teaching certificate, you can usually find a teaching job, and I know with your CDL, you can always find a place to drive a truck. So.
We've talked a lot about the opportunities, and there are opportunities on the adult side, younger kids, students, people interested. Where do they start? Do they call the tech center? Do they go online? If you want to
all the above, I mean,
get involved. How do you do that? What's the first step, I guess?
Well, I mean, you know, we do a lot of contact comes through the local schools. Our relationships there between our counselor Audra Halderman and our student services staff and our sending schools, that happens. I'll tell you, CJ, really anymore with the TAP program, I don't have to explain to the kids what we're all about. Yeah, that's probably the best thing is it's their High Plains. They see High Plains in a different light than they did 9 years ago in terms of those kids are. I mean, I always said that the best marketing we got is our students. The best marketing we got is the people out here, and it's obviously our best resource. That's how you get there. But if anybody needs to get a hold of us, you call the main number there, 256-6618, or get online and find us, and that's available. So.
Well, hey, thank you so much for stopping through this morning. I know you had a packed schedule today, but gosh, we could talk about things High Plains Technology Center for an hour and still not be.
Well, and I mean, not only on the behalf of High Plains, but just the community and the greater area. What you guys do through just participating and putting stuff out there, we thank you guys. I see it in every realm that I work in, and certainly appreciated.
That's Barclay Holt, the superintendent of the High Plains Technology Center. It's been Tech Bites. What's on the menu, Mr. Holt?